Hello, my name's Gavin. This is Genre Books. It's Tuesday. It's Tag Tuesday. I hope it's Tag Tuesday. This tag is La Bella Italia. This tag was created by Emily at the Linguists Library and Daniela at Uncommon Reader, and I was tagged by Philip over at A Poet Reads to Write. There are 11 prompts, so let's get started. All of these prompts name an Italian city or town, and we go from there. And we start with Rome. All roads lead to Rome. History and historical novels. I'm going with history, and I'm going with a book that I need to finish. I was stopped from reading this book by the people who sabotaged the British Library. But I am at the beginning, now that we are of 2025, going to return to the library. They've got most of their systems up and running again. I'm going to finish Hansa by Philip Dollinger. It's still my favourite historical period to read about, or historical subject to read about, the Hanseatic League. I can't get enough of that. Prompt number 2. Wherefore art thou, Verona? Romance books or literary fiction with ill-fated lovers. But I'm glad they had the qualifier there, because if it had just been romance books, I'd have been in trouble. However, for ill-fated lovers and literary fiction, I think I have exactly the right book, because I read it this week. I did this as a buddy read with Debs from Rain Read Stuff. It is Ian Forster's Where Angels Fear to Tread. Do I get bonus points that it's actually set mostly in Italy? It's fantastic. I'm going to talk about this in a video which, from your perspective, came out a couple of days ago. So I won't repeat myself here. Suffice to say, it's early in the year, but this is book of the year so far for me. Prompt number 3. Florence, Brushstrokes and Botticelli. So books about art or music or artists. I'm going to go with art, and after extolling the beauty of Where Angels Fear to Tread, I'm going straight from that to a book with a urinal on the front cover, but not just any urinal. This is the birth of modern art, possibly. It's the birth of some kind of modern art. This is Marcel Duchamp. This was from 1917. He just signed this and submitted it as a sculpture. There is more to this book, and there is more to the story. Pieces like this, pieces like that. Can't show you that. Can't show you that. Art like that. So, Cubism, Dadaism, crazy photographs, ready-made sculptures, and maybe making some chess sets as well. Dada and Surrealism always been my favourite art movements. Possibly not always my favourite paintings, but certainly the most interesting time of creating art, and I think possibly the last interesting time creating art as well, from my fuddy-duddy perspective. Prompt number 4. Sicily, Myths of Mount Etna, Mythology, Fantasy and Science Fiction. So I've got a lot to choose from here. I've gone for something which I'm hopefully going to read next month. One of these shorter fantasy works for fantasy in February. This is The Weirwoods by Thomas Burnett Swan. And I picked this one because I think it has... here we are. In the time of the Etruscans, so the half-forgotten civilization that preceded Rome, centaurs, fauns, and other man-like races still existed alongside humanity. So this is set in Italy-ish. Prompt number 5, the Bolognese Chronicles, food-themed books. I don't have many food-themed books. I struggled with this one. This has a meal in the title, however. I don't know if it's at all germane to what goes on inside this book. I've not read it yet, but this is A Fish Dinner in Mnemosyne, and this is the Ballantine paperback of the E.R. Edison book, part of the Ballantine, not part of the Ballantine adult fantasy, just preceded the adult fantasy series, but thematically very close in appearance. Prompt number 6, from Sardinia with Love, and this is thrillers, adventures, spy books, heist books. Again, I'm going to choose a book which I hope to be reading this year. This is The Rose of Tibet from Lionel Davidson, and it is an adventure book set in Tibet and other places, I believe, and I'm hoping this event is running again this year, Spring into Adventure. If not, I'm going to be reading it as part of a new booktube event we've got called April. Prompt number 7, Venice in a Gondola with Casanova, Forbidden Love Affairs in Books. Again, this sounds a bit too romancy for me. What I've got is a book I picked up with the intention of reading it this August for Garb August. So don't expect it to be the most sophisticated of novels, but this is Sleeping Partners by Terence Lloyd, and I'm holding the book in a very specific way to cover up the photographic naughtiness that lies underneath my fingers. I am not entirely sure what to expect from this book, but I expect it to be about 280 pages long, so I hope it's at least worth my while. Prompt number 8, Naples Never Sleeps, mystery, horror, gothic. Again, I think almost everything I'm choosing here is something I intend to be reading this year. There are 3 books in this 3 gothic novels, of which I have read 2. I've read Beckford's Vathek and I've read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I have not yet read The Castle of Otranto from Walpole, which is what I'm going to read. There is a lot of gothic that I'm going to be reading, hopefully, this year, including a little textbook on gothic, Jane Austen's horrid novels that she lists in Northanger Abbey, and whatever else I might be able to get my hands on, and is quick and an easy read, because time already, even now at the 3rd week of the year, seems to be against us. Prompt number 9, Tales of Torino La Magica, ghosts and legends, novellas, short stories, plays, folk tales. So that's a broad enough remit, and again I'm going with stuff I do intend to be reading, but I can't think of a legend more famous than Atlantis. Everybody knows Atlantis, and here's 2 books dealing with it. There's Elsbrag de Camp's The Tritonian Ring, and Atlantis, edited by, or The Magic of Atlantis, edited by Lynn Carter. And this has, well, not only does it have lovely purple edging, it has short stories from Robert E. Howard, Henry Kuttner, Elsbrag de Camp, Lynn Carter, Eben Hamilton, Clark Ashton Smith, and Nick Zin Dihalis. So yes, I'm probably going to be reading a little more than is healthy for me on the subject of Atlantis later this year. Prompt number 10, Musing in Milan. Any genre. Well, I'm going to go back to science fiction. more specifically sort of disaster-y type science fiction, in anticipation of the return of Rocket Summer this July, The Darkest of Nights by Charles Eric Maine. I think it was last year I read The Tide Goes Out by Charles Eric Maine. It may have been 2023, but I think it was last year. I enjoyed it immensely. Here is another disaster novel from him. A deadly plague engulfs East Asia, and the rest of the world's governments look on callously until the shadow of the new virus begins to sweep across the globe. As the pandemic draws nearer Britain, shelters are hastily constructed, but when the death toll rises and the populace finds themselves sacrificed for the sake of the elite, the cry for revolution rings out amidst the sirens. So yeah, obviously really far-fetched stuff. It'd be interesting to see what the approach to this was back in 1962. Obviously they don't have our sophisticated 21st century responses of blaming vaccines, but we'll see how these primitive people manage to cope. Prompt number 11, Postcards from Italy, a book set in Italy. I've read a few books set in Italy, not a huge amount, but I enjoyed The Garden of the Fidzi-Continis. I enjoy Italo Calvino, so I could have If on a Winter's Night a Traveller. I think my favourite Italian author is probably Umberto Eco, so I will go with a very Italian based book of his, and one which I did read last year as part of my tote bag of mild peril, and that is The Mysterious Flame of Queen Loana. I think it is quite a personal book for him, and quite a smart way in the book of just disappearing into a box of treasures from childhood, trying to rediscover himself through the popular culture that he was subjected to in the late 30s, 40s Italy. I really enjoyed it. Not my favourite book of his, but I don't think I've read a Duff book from him. So there we have it. 11 prompts. I think this is the third tag I've recorded on the bounce today. I want to thank Emily and Daniela for creating the tag. I want to thank Philip for tagging me. And I want to thank anyone who's still listening at the end of this response. So until next time, arrivederci.